Hello, dear fans, friends, and subscribers. Welcome to the Sunday edition of the Cricket Happening Show. And I'll be starting this Sunday edition of the Cricket Happening Show with the news that India are the newly crowned champions of the Asia Cup after they continued their unbeaten run in this Asia Cup tournament to score a very facile victory over the Bangladeshis in the final. And in fact, the match was actually reduced to a 15 overs a side game. Well, for India, it didn't really matter. Even though Bangladesh, I thought, did well to reach 120 odd runs with Mahmudullah biffing the Indian bowlers in the final stages of the 20 overs, sorry, final stage of the 15 overs. I thought India did a marvelous job with Dhoni actually promoting himself in the batting order and seeing to it that the final over was not needed. And that was it. India, the new champions of the Asia Cup, the newly crowned champions of the Asia Cup. Now, the other match, we also had one thriller match, a match which went down all the way down to the wire, went down all the way down to the final ball of the 20th over. Mitchell Marsh, 11 runs were needed, and then finally, when it came to the final, but it was a very high scoring match. In fact, as I said, it was held to the Wanderers in Johannesburg, but we thought that the batting was pretty easy on this track, even though the ball is bouncing. The ball is nicely coming onto the bat, and runs were really smoked. It was a high scoring game, and in fact, both the teams scoring 200, with South Africa scoring 204 and Australia usurping the total in the final ball, which had lots of drama with 2 runs required. Mitchell Marsh was on strike. He bunted the ball down, and it was David Miller who couldn't actually collect it cleanly, or probably we would have had a tie in this particular match. That enabled them to scamper across for the second run, and that was it as far as Australia were concerned. Australia also, by doing that, they went on to actually level this a 3-match series 1-1 with a real a beauty of a match coming up in Cape Town in the final T20 match. But the main thing that Australia won was the heroics shown by David Warner and Glenn Maxwell smashing the South African attack to all parts of the field with a record-breaking partnership which broke all the records for Australia in T20s. And this is the highest partnership ever by an Australian pair in T20s, and it was 161 runs. They literally caned the South African bowling, and it was a real treat to watch as Glenn Maxwell went after I think he went after David Wiese. I reckon I'd be talking about that. But definitely I will come back to that. But first I'm going to start off with the Asia Cup champions India, and let's see what really happened at the Sher-e-Bangla National Stadium in Mirpur in the finals of the Asia Cup, and India were the victors. As far as this match was concerned, the toss, as I said, first and foremost, 90 minutes before the play started, there was heavy rain in Bangladesh, in that particular place in Mirpur, and the ground was totally flooded with probably, one probably felt, even the outfield was also pretty soggy, and one probably had the feeling that whether Bangladesh would be fully equipped to deal with such a situation, or probably this match will be going into a reserve day. But unfortunately, nothing of that sort happened. I thought one has to really credit the boys, the Bangladeshi boys, of having these young boys who Ramiz Raja and the commentators box definitely mentioned. They did some good work in trying to really clear the ground pretty quickly, and that came as a mighty relief to all those spectators who would have really come in, because host Bangladesh were hosting the tournament. And also the crowd was absolutely electric. The atmosphere was absolutely electric at the Sher-e-Bangla National Stadium, and I'm sure they really got the value for their money, even though their host team lost. It was a good performance by Bangladesh, but India proved too good for them. As far as Bangladesh were concerned, India actually winning the race, Mahendra Singh Dhoni and the match was reduced to 15 overs a side because of that, and then Bangladesh took strike. It all started with Jasprit Bumrah giving the breakthrough to India when he picked up Tamim Iqbal. As you know, Bumrah is one who has been another person who really bowls in the right areas, and he makes it very difficult for the batsmen to actually play their strokes. And Jasprit Bumrah was the one who struck early by sending Tamim Iqbal packing to the pavilion by getting him LBW for 13 of 17 balls at 2 fours. We saw Soumya Sarkar reel off some attractive boundaries there, but then Ashish Nehra picked up his wicket for 14 of 9 balls with 3 fours. But after that, there was a partnership, 30 for 2. In fact, Soumya Sarkar was the first to go, and then it was Tamim Iqbal. And then we had a partnership which added 34 runs, which happened between Sabir Rahman and Shakib Al Hasan. With Sabir Rahman, really they knew that they had to really guard their wickets, but on the same token they need to get their runs. And then Shakib Al Hasan opened up by hitting a few boundaries, but then Ravichandran Ashwin, who was actually bowling the initial stage. In fact, he was the one who started proceedings, and Ravichandran Ashwin, well, he definitely bottled up this Bangladeshi batsman. If you look at his bowling figures, he bowled 3 overs because only 3 overs were allowed to every bowler, and he bowled 3 overs for just 14 runs. And that was the time when Shakib Al Hasan, trying to hit his way out of this particular bottling that Ashwin was doing, fell a victim, and Shakib Al Hasan was caught by Bumrah of the bowling of Ashwin for 21 of 16 balls with 3 fours, which made it 64 for 3 in the 10th over. And then we saw Mushfiqur Rahim trying to go herring across for the single, had his bat in the air as Dhoni whipped off the bails with a beautiful throw relayed in by Virat Kohli from the deep, and Mushfiqur Rahim was run out for 4 of 5 balls. That was a bitter blow for Bangladesh, according to me. But Sabir Rahman was at the crease and brought Mashrafe Murtaza to the crease, and Mashrafe Murtaza perished on the very first ball. Jadeja was the bowler, and Mashrafe Murtaza was trying to smoke him through the top, and Kohli taking the catch in the deep. He was out for a duck, and 75 for 5 was Bangladesh score, and that brought in the finisher Mahmudullah into the crease. And Sabir Rahman was playing pretty quietly. He was not able to hit boundaries. In fact, for 24 balls, he could not hit a single boundary, and no sixes were scored till then. And the Bangladeshis were finding it a real struggle against all the bowlers. The Indian bowlers were pretty disciplined in there. Only Ashish Nehra was going on for some runs. That brought in Mahmudullah to the crease, and Mahmudullah got a beautiful delivery from Nehra, which just shaved and went away. But after that, Mahmudullah clattered the Indian bowlers. He went after Hardik Pandya in the 19th over to probably take him, hit him for, I think it was 2 sixes that he hit of the bowling of Hardik Pandya, and probably taking 20 runs of the over by also spanking some boundaries. And Mahmudullah was completely in a sort of a real mood to really go ahead and really club the Indian bowling. So he did a good job because they were struggling, as I said, 75 for 5 in the 12th over, and thanks to Mahmudullah and Sabir Rahman, and finally Jasprit Bumrah, who bowled the final over, really once again shut the Bangladeshis by actually bowling a very tight over for just 5 runs in the final over. And finally Bangladesh had to be content with a score of 120 for 5 of their 15 overs. Sabir Rahman was not out on 32 of 29 balls with 2 fours, and Mahmudullah, who contributed an electric 33 of just 13 deliveries, 2 fours and 2 sixes. 120 was supposed to be a good score on this particular pitch, especially considering that it was only 15 overs. But after that, the bowling, as I said, the Indian bowling was up to the mark. Ashwin, 3 overs 1 for 14, doing a wonderful job. Ashish Nehra, 3 overs 1 for 33. Jasprit Bumrah, once again showing what a difficult bowler he is to handle. 3 overs no maiden, 1 for 13. Hardik Pandya was the one who was the costliest. 3 overs carted for 35, especially Mahmudullah dealing with him very severely. Jadeja bowled 3 overs 1 for 25. Now it was the turn for India to start the reply, and the reply was not so good. They started off with Rohit Sharma wafting at a delivery in the second over. First it was Taskin Ahmed who bowled the first over. He was absolutely on the money, giving nothing away. And in the second over, Al-Amin Hussain picked up his wicket with a ball. First he actually got a ball to actually jag into Rohit Sharma. The next one actually moved away, and Rohit Sharma wafting at the delivery outside the off stump, got an edge, and what a catch, a sharp catch according to me, taken by Soumya Sarkar in the slips, and Rohit Sharma was walking, and India had lost their first wicket pretty early in the piece, and the score read 5 for 1 in the second over, and then it brought Virat Kohli to the crease. And now, there was a bit of a sort of a pressure for India at the time when they lost Rohit Sharma. But then once Virat Kohli came to the crease and joined Shikhar Dhawan, and still we saw that the bowling was very good. Taskin Ahmed was up to the mark. Al-Amin Hussain was bowling in the right areas. And Indian innings was really meandering at that stage. But once that phase was over, we saw that Rohit Sharma and Dhawan and Virat Kohli were pretty watchful, but at the same time, Kohli came in and immediately showed what confidence he has in driving very well, and Shikhar Dhawan. But then once Abu Haider, the new boy, was introduced to bowl after some very good bowling from Taskin Ahmed and Al-Amin Hussain, Abu Haider was the time where India really started their process towards getting to the total, when we saw that Shikhar Dhawan and Virat Kohli never allowed Abu Haider to settle, and took 14 runs of his first over, and that was it for Abu Haider. He never bowled after that. His one over went for 14 with 3 fours, 2 fours from Dhawan and 1 4 from Virat Kohli. And once Abu Haider was hit, it was the turn of the spinners to come in, and spinners were easy meat for India, as Shakib Al Hasan 2 overs cost him 26. Mashrafe Murtaza came in. Murtaza was stonked for 16 of his 2 overs. Nasir Hussain was playing his first match. He went for 22 of his 3. And suddenly, this innings which was probably after losing the wicket, probably one thought that India had to really be watchful. But that Abu Haider over, which really opened up after a very good opening burst from their opening bowlers, Taskin Ahmed in particular and Al-Amin Hussain, the Indian pair of Dhawan and Kohli really capitalized on all the other bowlers with Abu Haider, Shakib, Mashrafe Murtaza, Nasir Hussain, and the score started moving, and before one could realize, India were close to the 100 mark, and Shikhar Dhawan had already reached his 50. And what a knock from Shikhar Dhawan. He was the man of the match today, but just before India reached the 100 mark, they lost the wicket of Shikhar Dhawan when Taskin Ahmed came into his final spell, and it was a very good catch taken once again by Soumya Sarkar. This time Soumya Sarkar was in the point region, taking a beautiful catch of the bowling of Shikhar Dhawan. Shikhar Dhawan was out for 60 of 44 balls, 9 fours and 1 6, but Virat Kohli was still there at the crease. And Mahendra Singh Dhoni, the Indian captain, as we know, he always makes a move which is always being appreciated and always justifies his move, and that's what he precisely did. He walked in with India still needing from 22 odd runs. Well, Dhoni walked in and completed the formalities in great style. He came in, and right from the probably one ball he would have taken 2 runs, and after that in the next over he just went aerial. He went, in fact, he started hitting boundaries and sixes. In fact, he hit 2 sixes. That was in the final, in the penultimate over. And he, in the previous over, he lofted a ball onto the fence, and then he sent one ball in the penultimate over when it started. It was probably in 2 overs. India was still requiring, if I'm not wrong, they required another 20 odd runs, I reckon, or probably 18 runs, I suppose, in 12 balls. But Mahendra Singh Dhoni, as I said, he's a great finisher. He came in and finished off the innings in that penultimate over itself of Al-Amin Hussain, as Al-Amin Hussain was swung over mid-wicket for a 6, and then a length ball was punished in the only way that Dhoni could do, as he picked him up and tonked him into the top tier, and what a humongous 6 that was. and that was said. That ended this when Dhoni bringing India the Asia Cup with a huge six, and what a knock from Dhoni. I mean, coming in, the Indian captain promoting himself in the batting order, coming in as one drop, and completely coming in and completely securing the match for India with Dhoni remaining not out on 20 of just 6 balls. He biffed, I would say. He just biffed 20 of just 6 balls with 1, 4 and 2 sixes remaining not out. Virat Kohli was not out on 41 of 28 balls with 5 fours. Match over. India, the newly crowned champions of the Asia Cup. And that too, India have been totally unbeaten in this tournament. So that really says how superior India has been. And a word for Taskin Ahmed. I thought Taskin Ahmed was the pick of the bowlers. He really bowled superbly, I thought. He cramped up the Indians for room too. Al-Amin Hussain was one can only feel sorry for him, because when you know that Dhoni is at the other end, you know the bowlers are definitely going to suffer. Al-Amin Hussain, 2.5 overs, no maiden, 1 for 30. And the player of the match went to Shikhar Dhawan. And the player of the match went to Sabir Rahman of Bangladesh. And I'm very, very happy for Sabir Rahman, because I have always been telling on my cricket show that for me, I've already told you yesterday also, if you look at my preview, I said that Sabir Rahman is the key for Bangladesh in the T20 World Cup, because he has shown amazing consistency in this Asia Cup, and I'm sure he's going to take it forward to the T20 World Cup. And it couldn't be enough motivation for Sabir Rahman to deliver the goods in the T20 World Cup for Bangladesh, as Sabir Rahman justifiably got the Player of the Series award. So that is as far as that particular match is concerned. Now I'm turning my attention on to the second T20 match between South Africa and Australia. And what a match that was. The match going all the way down to the wire. This was played at the Bull Ring, as we all call the Wanderers in Johannesburg. Wanderers in Johannesburg, it has a lot of pace and bounce. But these are like conditions which are extremely ideally suited for South African and Australian players. We also saw that the ball was nicely coming onto the bat with some very even bounce, and that enabled this to be a very, very high scoring affair. And Australia did it in style, I would say. As I said, they put on Glenn Maxwell and David Warner, putting on a record partnership in T20s. They broke all the records in T20s for Australia when they put up the highest ever partnership ever recorded by Australia for any wicket in T20s of 161 runs. And that was absolutely, I would say, dynamite stuff coming in from, and that was needed too to win the match. But what Australia have done is, by doing this, they have kept their hopes alive, and this T20 series is really alive and kicking now between South Africa and Australia. And just talking about this particular game, just wanting to tell you that as to what happened. It all came down, it was South Africa who actually batted first. They raced 204 for 7 of their 20 overs. The captain du Plessis playing a lead role in this by smashing 75 or 79 odd runs, which I'll talk about. And then it was left to Australia. And then after that whirlwind partnership that took place, the record partnership which took place between David Warner and Glenn Maxwell, finally it was Kagiso Rabada who was given the final over, and 11 runs were required. And Rabada started off in great fashion, with Warner trying to swing Rabada, and it was gone. In fact, his stumps went for a walk. It went and actually hit the stumps. After that, there were 5 more balls remaining. Faulkner came in, and Rabada bowled one wide outside the off stump. And then the next ball, Faulkner took 2 runs. In fact, there were no boundaries hit. It was some sensible batting from Faulkner. And then Rabada bowled one wide. He was made to bowl an extra delivery. And then finally, after doing all the hard work, in these 5 balls, they had taken 6 runs already, and now it was only another 2 runs required. 9 runs were already taken of 5 balls, and only 2 runs were required. And Mitchell Marsh was on strike, and Mitchell Marsh was actually facing his first ball. And what a way! I mean, this was the final ball of the innings, and Rabada had to bowl, and Marsh actually bunted it straight down the ground, and it could have probably ended in a super over, but I thought it was David Miller who couldn't really collect the ball cleanly. Probably if David Miller could have actually collected the ball cleanly, he could have just thrown in, but unfortunately that was not the case, and that enabled the Australian batsman to scamper across for the second run, and that was victory for Australia in the final ball of the 20th over. And what a way to level the series. So what a thriller we had here at the Wanderers in Johannesburg. Just talking about this now, I'm going to just briefly skim you through this. The South Africans putting 204 for 7 on the board. De Villiers started off well, making 13 of 9 balls with 1-4. Quinton de Kock was superb in his batting. He was looking dangerous according to me. In fact, he was getting the balls even which were wide outside the off stump. He was swinging it down the leg side. Such was his mastery over the bowling, using his wrist beautifully. But du Plessis was the one who really did it to the Australians with a punishing knock of 79 of just 41 balls with 5 fours and 5 sixes, and showing a lot of innovation in his stroke making. David Miller tonked 33 of 18 deliveries with 2 fours and 2 sixes. Duminy 14, and then David Wiese, who actually brought this South African total past the 200 mark in the final ball with a big 6 down the ground, as he was not out on 10, and South Africa ended up with 204 for 7 of their 20 overs. The bowling, Hazelwood 4 was none for 50, but Hastings was manhandled in the final over, which went for 26 runs, with du Plessis blasting him, and then finally it was after du Plessis had blasted the Hastings all across the park, it was around David Wiese to add insult to injury, and Hastings had bowled 3 overs for 16, ended up with his figures totally rearranged with 4 overs for 42 runs with 2 wickets. Mitchell Marsh 2 overs 1 for 28, Maxwell 4 overs none for 30, bowled well, 3 for 28 for Faulkner. Ashton Agar received some sort of a severe tap from the bat of David Miller, 2 overs 1 for 25. Ashton Agar today was making his T20 international debut. But now let's have a look at the Australian card. The Australians didn't start off in the right manner, with Kagiso Rabada bowling a pinpoint Yorker to nick the stumps of Aaron Finch for 2. Watson was sent back by Dale Steyn, who was into the team today. Dale Steyn picking up Shane Watson's wicket for 9, 15 balls, 2 fours. And then Stephen Smith, who has been struggling in these T20s, once again continued to struggle. But then Dale Steyn was the man who actually picked up the wicket with a wonderful catch taken by Kagiso Rabada when Stephen Smith got a ball which was lifting on him and tried to put it over his shoulder, and Rabada picked up the catch, 19 of 15. But after that, there was a real onslaught that started, and what an onslaught. In fact, Glenn Maxwell and David Warner joined hands in the 6th over. From the 6th over, they almost took Australia to victory. What a bout of hitting from David Warner and Glenn Maxwell, combining to score 161 runs. As I said, this is the highest ever partnership for Australia in T20 cricket for any wicket in their T20 history, and this was simply scintillating stuff. 6, and I would say it's almost like I'm just trying to figure out as to in how many balls they made 161. I could say here, I would say they made sure of that. We are looking at probably in 75 deliveries they smoked 161 runs, with David Warner making 77 of just 40 deliveries with 6 fours and 5 sixes, and he was the one who went after Imran Tahir. Imran Tahir was given cavalier treatment by David Warner, and Maxwell turned his attention to David Wiese as his 4 overs were slammed for 58 runs, as Imran Tahir and David Wiese were the ones who leaked the most amount of runs. In fact, in 8 overs, if you look at it, they gave more than 103 runs. So that is really, really painful for sure. And Maxwell clubbed 75 of just 43 deliveries, 7 fours and 3 sixes. And finally, as I said, the match went down to the wire. 11 to defend. Rabada had to defend that. And then finally, it ended up with Australia being the victors. But what a match! What a source of entertainment for this bullring crowd here today at the Wanderers. As far as so Australia also leveling the T20 series 1-1, with the third one going to be a real beauty. David Warner was declared man of the match with 6 fours and 5 sixes, 77 of 40 deliveries. As far as the bowling was concerned, Kagiso Rabada was superb. He bowled an excellent line. 4 overs, no more than 2 for 25. Chris Morris got some, was expected to be hit with such a big score. 4 overs, 1 for 39. Dale Steyn on his return bowled decently. 4 overs, no more than 2 for 32. But the problem area for the South Africans was David Wiese and Imran Tahir, who were slammed for 58 runs and 47 runs respectively. David Warner was named man of the match. Well, dear fans, friends, subscribers, that really puts an end to this cricket happening show of mine this Sunday. I'll be back with more. And today, all the warm-up matches that were played in the ICC T20 World Cup were all washed off because of rain. And tomorrow I'll be back once again with the... And I hope you all enjoyed all the previews that I did of all the cricket teams in this World Cup, for the ICC T20 World Cup. As you know, the qualifying rounds of the T20 World Cup is about to begin on 8th of March, as you all know. Well, dear fans and subscribers, that really leaves me with only just time here to say goodbye to you all, dear friends and subscribers of Cricket Happenings, and your host Ram will be seeing you tomorrow. Until then, it's goodbye. Thank you.